Hey, it's So from So's Real Thoughts. This is Sal from Chrome Yellow, and we went to Beyond Fest, and they hosted an epic 3-day event where they brought Goblin to the U.S. for the very first time, and so this event was the centerpiece of the whole festival, and it was like a sold-out event at the Egyptian, and so it was just like really crazy, really fun. They played a show in the beginning, and they showed, for 3 days, they showed a different Dario Argento film, and it was Suspiria, Deep Red, and Tenebrae, and so it was crazy. It was crazy. They were selling Goblin merchandise, they were signing posters, and they were selling Jay Shaw's Suspiria, Argento, yeah. They're
posters everywhere, vinyl from Death Waltz.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It was so crazy. I never even heard of their music before, so when I experienced it firsthand live, I was completely blown away. It was probably the best experience I ever had. I almost felt like I started, I was like crying inside, and I was like, I love life. And it was just a crazy experience. I'm glad that I got to, it was almost like a once in a lifetime experience, because this was their very first time in LA, or even...
Yeah, I mean, they were touring to get to LA, but it was, it's their first time here just ever, and I think they played maybe like an hour and a half or something like that every night. They played the same set every night, but it was cool.
It was epic.
They started out, I think they split their set into like 2 parts where they would play lots of kind of like more obscure stuff, like from their album Roller. And then at the end, they would just play all the soundtrack stuff. And like when they would play the soundtrack stuff, they'd have clips from the films up on the giant screen at the Egyptian. It was pretty cool to see them there, because I know the Egyptian is one of my favorite venues anyway, just to watch movies. The screen is like so giant, and
it's just a great place, and people were drinking, and it was kind of like it was like a concert.
Really loud.
Yeah.
The sound was really good, and the band was like extremely tight. Like you could hear every single note, and like the way they played a lot of the soundtrack stuff, they kind of updated it, and because different arrangements, because they would have just a band lineup for live settings, and the way that they translated it to play that stuff was really cool to see. It's kind of heavier. What else? Yeah, it's just really weird to see a concert there, because it's just
at a theater, and it was just like a
crowd
amazing
was
event.
kind of wild. Yeah, like. Yeah.
And then after we saw the Argento films, and I think my favorite was Deep Red. Definitely. It was surprisingly complex, and there was so much depth to it, and I've only seen Suspiria before, and so it was nice to kind of get an overview of Argento's style, and
Yeah. So should we just go through the films one by one?
Whatever. So the first night film was Suspiria, which I probably watched this year, and I was completely blown away by the film. Actually, was I blown away? Because at first I was like, I really want to explore Argento's filmography, and that was the one to start off with, and I really loved the way it was shot. Beautiful cinematography, loved the deep colors, and I think I kind of got confused with the story at some points, but I think that's part of his style, it's so much visually, the visuals tell the story rather than the actual story.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times in his movies, there are things that just don't make sense.
Yeah, but I guess in the end, it really worked out.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. And I think in terms of seeing some, like his movies in the theater, I think personally that's probably the best looking film that he made, just because just all the neon colors.
Everything is just beautiful, like even like the production design to even the soundtrack to the acting. Like her voice is so mysterious and like so, it doesn't even fit her face. because she looks like such an angel, and she has this like really deep kind of drony voice. I feel. No.
Yeah. Well, I forget if that's her voice, because I know some of them they do. Yeah.
Kind of,
but I forget if the main if Susie Bannon, I forget if that's hers or not. But anyways, that's another side thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's cool because there's let's see, this is the one, because I think in his other films he kind of like hints, there's like supernatural hints, but this is the one where it actually does deal with like there's like witches.
Yeah, and I love that witch premise.
Oh
and
yeah, I love
like,
that stuff.
I always think it's clever that she's like counting their steps. It's like, where did they go?
Yeah, it's kind of cool, and it's just really moody. You know, like there's lots of there's silhouettes and there's like intense washes of colors, and I think the deaths in this one are a lot more. Maybe they're a lot more drawn out than his other movies. Like that first one, especially, where the girl is like pulled through the.
I'm sorry if nobody has watched his films, but get on that. And like when there's this part where the girl falls, and she falls on barbed wires.
Oh yeah, that
was like
so
the craziest
ridiculous
scene. I was like, oh my god, why? It's like what's
the
going
timing
on?
of it is really funny too, because she's crawling through this thing and then
she decides to jump.
I mean, obviously in real life you would totally see those things there.
Would you though? Cause
I don't know.
You're like, there's a window. I'm gonna jump that, and you're just like, ah.
And she just jumps down. Like Harry just follows her, and she's just like in barbed wire all of a sudden.
But that was the most painful scene probably for me.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy, and the ending's awesome.
Yeah, his films always just kind of end.
Yeah, and
which I didn't know, so I was like, what's going on? Like.
Yeah. So that one's cool.
Yeah.
So next one.
So the second night film is our favorite, Deep Red.
Yeah.
It was it had so much depth to it. It was kind of complex. There was a lot of layers. And the guy, God, I forgot his name.
David Hemming from Blow Up.
Yeah,
Blow Out.
yeah.
Blow Up?
Blow Up.
I get the
Blow
two
Up.
mixed up.
Antonioni Blow Up. And so, yeah, I thought it was very interesting.
That one's cool because it's kind of like just, it's almost like a weird, like a procedural, but it's, you know, like he's a music teacher. He witnesses the murder of like this psychic, which is cool.
Yeah. And I like it how it kind of unravels, like layer by layer, and you just find out more information throughout the film. And by the end, you're like, whoa. There's
a lot of twists in this one, and I remember when I saw it the first time. There's like this. I don't want to ruin it, but there's this thing that Argento does, where it's kind of almost like a magic trick. You know, like he dangles something in front of your face, and you don't even know what you're staring at, and then when it hit, you know, when it comes back later on, you're just like, that was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I just liked it for its complexity, and it was cool. It was actually kind of scary, the twist ending, so.
Yeah, and there's, you know, echoes of maybe Hitchcock a little bit in there. Yeah, the music's awesome. I think that's my favorite Goblin theme song.
I think Suspiria really punches it.
That one's
for
good
me.
too.
Yeah.
They're all good. It's hard to choose.
So. The third night film was Tenebrae, which it almost seems like none of the girls in Tenebrae wear bras, or he's like telling the story that is very anti-feminist, and
it's the most like exploitive one out of all of them.
But I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, and there's like
kind of crazy.
Yeah, and there's all the weird gender politics stuff.
Yeah, and you said it was like one of the most humorous ones that you.
Yeah, you know, like when we were watching it, I was surprised at how much I was laughing, which I didn't even remember any of that stuff at all. Or maybe.
I'm pretty sure I laughed, but I don't know what I laughed at. But it was.
It's just weird. That's the weirdest.
Yeah, it was a bit kooky.
I think this is the most straightforward, maybe giallo one too, out of all the bunch.
Someone is killed with a Smith & Wesson revolver.
But yeah, it's pretty cool. There's super weird. There's really weird stuff going on. There's like a meta narrative because it's about like an author and he's writing a book and somebody's like recreating stuff from the book.
And it's like it just kind of goes crazy. I don't know. It
goes crazy, and there's lots of weird random stuff. Like there's that one part where they're driving. Remember, they're driving, and then like they kind of like swerve or whatever, and they cause like this giant accident, but they just keep going. And it's just like in the middle of everything, and it's just like there's lots of weird stuff.
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
But it's pretty cool, and the ending is again. I mean, his endings are super cool. I mean, they end so abruptly, but there's I think this one there's a lot of there's more than you think. At the end of this one.
So I mean, they could have really. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was really interesting.
So yeah.
But yeah, so that was
awesome. Yeah.
It was incredible. I thank Beyond Fest for inviting us, and I'm glad that I just saw all of his, or three of our Dario.
Three of his early, like I kind of like the three of the best from his kind of like best era of work, because he's been going ever since. But
the three of the best.
Or three of the most iconic, maybe of.
So if you haven't seen his stuff, definitely do. And yeah, it was a great event. I had so much fun.
Yeah, super rad. Yeah, no.
All right. Well, follow Chrome Yellow at all costs, and I'll see you later. Bye.